Hey everyone, in this video I'll be showing you the best build in Nioh 3 from the start of the game all the way through to the end game and showing you where to get all the items, the best gear, the best skills, and everything included to make the most powerful build in Nioh 3. After beating the game, I've noticed there are actually a lot of really powerful skills here. The ninja itself is extremely strong. It's a great addition to the game, especially due to how powerful the kit is in general, which we'll be breaking down all in this video. Now, I think one of the most important things to start with is the ninja tools. Ninjutsu is extremely powerful in this game. As a new addition, it can do crazy amounts of damage. At the start of the game, you got things like Uncanny Flame. It's nice to have all the different uncanny abilities, as these can be used if the target blocks and still deal damage, unlike the shuriken. But typically, combat in Nioh 3, we want to apply like lightning and fire on an enemy, because when we have two elemental damages on the enemy, they get confusion, which makes them take 40% more damage. And this scales up the more statuses we're able to apply on the enemies. Typically, we want to have that because it's a huge boost to our DPS. The shurikens are nice, but I would highly recommend swapping off as soon as we get things like the fire shuriken and the poison shuriken, which I'm going to show you how to get right now, because I think that they are. I kept the fire shuriken equipped the entire game. You're going to come to the Hamamatsu Castletown East right here, and you're going to take a detour and just run this way. As you continue along here, you're going to come over to these boxes on the right-hand side, and we're just going to run straight through here. And once you go inside, you're just going to run to the end of this cliff here, and the fire shuriken is going to be in a handbook on this corpse. Another thing, the poison shuriken, you want to do the battle scrolls here. I highly recommend doing all of these the moment they become unlocked, because you're going to unlock some very powerful skills and get some great items. And I do think the ideal loadout here is to use the Uncanny Bolt for the lightning. Infernal Calamity. This one is insane because it leaves fire damage on the ground, and against a lot of bosses in this game, they'll take continuous damage. There's also Glacial, Thundering, and Tempestuous Calamities here. I still think they're as good as the Infernal Calamity and Fire Shuriken. You can swap out the Uncanny Bolt or the Infernal in the early game Infernal Calamity for the Poison Shuriken, as they are kind of essentials. The Soul Cores. This is where we get a lot of extra damage as well. Now, I would recommend that you go right ahead and get the Daidarabachi Soul Core. This is one that you want to get as early on as possible, because the Sloth Talisman, if you play previous Nioh games, is insane. It slows down every enemy and boss in the game, making them so much easier to hit. And the Daidarabachi is actually at the very first map, and you're going to come over here. I would recommend doing it at the later section of the first, but you're going to come over here, and that's where you're going to get that. It is a bit of a quest, and you do have to do something special there, and you can see it here. So this is a target that's not slowed down, but if we end up applying slow on them, they become so slow it's actually like you can just walk out of the way of their attacks. This does apply to bosses too, making them extremely easy, and I highly recommend having Sloth. You get 5 talisman every time you go to a shrine. It's absurd. Now, to pair with the Sloth Talisman, I also like to have a familiar of some sort, whether it be lightning, fire, or wind. It's you can get any of these really. I would recommend finding the Kamataichi boss, which is a little bit earlier on in the game. Wind is one of the harder statuses to apply, so it's nice to have that here. But I also like the lightning familiars due to how nice it is to slow enemies down on top of the Sloth slowdown. Another one that I think is extremely useful is the Sudama Soul Core. This gives us the Thunder Shot, and you get 8 of these. It can hit twice, and on some bosses it actually hits 4 times. What's great about this is it's an easy way to apply lightning, especially if you have another teammate in the fight, because you can then have the aggro off of you. It's also good because you can cast it and dodge backwards, and the enemy will sometimes run through it, and you'll be safe. So this is one that I like to use. And also, I like the Lightning Talisman. Any really that's going to boost up your weapon damage and apply the status on your weapon is good, especially if you're using things like Tonfas or dual ninja swords. I'll go over weapons as well in this video, but I like this sort of Fire Talisman. If you get to the end game, Hellshock's obviously a very strong one. I also want to mention Life Seal Talisman. This is really crazy because this basically makes it so the enemy can't recover the key. If you're fighting against a humanoid type boss, this might be the way to cheese them. If you hit them with slow and then hit them with a life seal and then just go in and start wailing away with your Tonfas, they likely aren't going to be able to hit you, and if they do, you're going to be easily able to dodge them, but they also can't recover keys, so you can keep breaking their posture. And here's an example of what that ends up looking like. So yeah, use a Life Seal Talisman, got one break off on them, and then, funny enough, certain humanoid bosses, you can just continually wail them against the wall here, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. And you see his key is getting absolutely deleted to the point that we were able to get a second one off, and this was a really hard boss fight that was really easy after using that item. So yeah, insane item. This is one that if you're struggling with a boss, I would recommend bringing it out. And Gaki, it's a Gaki. You get these everywhere. This may just be one of the most underrated spells in the game, just because stopping an enemy's ability to recover key is crazy, especially as you saw right there. And now for the Yang position. I am a massive fan of the Raiju Soul Core. This one's actually really easy to get to, as you have to fight the Crucible Wraith, but it's at the very start of the game. So when we go to this map here, it's actually, you're going to start over here. He's right here, the Crucible Wrath. So it's right by this Kita Ferry. You're just going to run straight up, and it's up on a top area. You do have to unlock this area because there is a Spirit Spring that you have to go, or Spirit Vein you have to go to, but you'll have this by the end of the first zone. And the reason I like the Raiju so much is that it just hits in a huge area of effect here. So you can see, boom, it hits once there. It didn't actually get the second hit off there, but it's great against bosses because he has that multi-hit lightning attack there, and you can see it just melts enemies. Now, I like to match elements. Like, in this setup, I have these skulls that shoot out and do an exploding lightning attack there. I found they're nice because you could use both of these to be able to apply lightning. Personally, I really like to have lightning on the enemy at all times. Lightning, water. Honestly, all elements are great, but lightning just ends up making a huge difference. Because the enemy's slow, it means you can get in, get your damage in, break their key, do tons more damage. I do want to quickly mention the Crucible Wasps are surprisingly good, especially if you like to apply poison on the enemy or if you're using the poison shurikens. You get 6 of these, you can summon them in, they're just going to go out. They're easy to land their attacks, and they're pretty useful. Later on in the game, you can get the Ibaraki Doji. This one is really nice alongside the Raiju for lightning. Kamataichi is also nice because this will give you a bit of extra wind damage. I also want to quickly mention the Sudama ceiling. They have 6 of these. They do a little bit of lightning damage, but if you know their options, this is okay. Nurabatok is also another nice one because he has a lot of multi-hits. It'll do just wobbles around on the ground there. No elements, but does a good amount of damage. There's also one for Ninra, unfortunately got rid of it, but that's good if you want to apply fire damage. Now for our Guardian Spirit, I'm a big fan of Shamicharo once you get to the later game. This one's going to give you fast movement on evade, lightning damage is the big one. That's kind of the focus of this build, but there is another that I think is really nice. This one also has some pretty powerful Guardian skills here, which we'll get to in a second. I also want to mention Enko. I'm a big fan of Enko because he's going to give you extra damage against a scorched enemy. So if you're focusing on fire, you just straight up get more damage here. And it also increases your damage over time. This is actually really nice because it will apply to poison as well. It makes you take less damage over time as well. You get an Amrita Guard's charge increase, and also you use less Spirit Force whenever using these abilities here. So kind of a nice options. And you can go by with either of these. There are other ones that you could go with in this game. It's honestly personal preference. Like the Kongo Jishi here can actually give us some extra fire damage, but I just like the Enko or Shamicharo. With Shamicharo would be my preference. And the Shamicharo abilities are pretty nice too. So there's this one here, which lets you grapple onto an enemy and then close the gap. And then we also have this one here, which you call them in, and then they play music and shoots lightning balls at targets. Now for our stats. Now I'm at the very end game, so obviously this is going to be a little bit different from depending where you're at in the game. My preference is to put most of our points into skill, even from the start of the game. Constitution is not going to make a massive difference in your overall survivability. There's actually one clan that can actually make this really high, which we'll get to in a moment. Heart is another really good one that's going to give you more ki, and that's kind of important because this means that we can attack more and we're less likely to get our ki broken and end up getting wombo comboed from that. I also want to quickly mention 10 intellect is a good choice. This lets us use a bunch of different items, which we'll get to in a moment, that we normally wouldn't be able to get without the 5 point. That's all you need is just 5 points here. I also like to take magic up to 15. That lets us prepare more spells. This also increases the damage that we'll be dealing with them, but I honestly found that even just having a few to apply statuses and use your weapons and ninjutsu, which is scaled off of our skill, ends up being a little bit better. I have a few points into the stamina to equip items, although definitely not needed. And yeah, I found that the best choices were to put most of the points into skill, a few in intellect when you need a particular item, and magic as well for more spells. That takes us to our skills. Now, one of these is insane. You get this from doing Omnio Magic training at the Battle Scroll. This lets you use your Omnio Magic faster, which is insanely good. We want to pretty much have this equipped at all times. Now, I did try using Summoning Basics for a while. This will give you double the amount of summoning seals, so if one gives you 2, you now get 4. It's nice, but I do think that the Mysteries of Summoning is better, especially if you have some of the single-use ones, which when you use that, you'd have 2. With this, you can sometimes get lucky and get multiple of them. So like Ibaraki Doji, which only has a single use, sometimes you can use it multiple times in a fight. Amplification, this is going to extend the duration of the Omnio Magic effects. Awakening, again, being really nice. And the Vonational Summoning, this lets us use the Guardian Spirits and Spirit skills while moving, which is really important because, yeah, we have one that we can fire away at the enemy to apply lightning damage, and we don't have to be stopped, so that's really nice. Our ninja skills. I really like to have the 2 dragon skills here. Illusionary Dragon increases the amount of damage dealt to an afflicted enemy with a status ailment by 12% when attacking with a Shadow Art Jutsu of a different element. This is really good because we're going to be applying a ton of ailments on them and swapping them, so more damage. Wrathful Dragon increases the damage dealt on an enemy after you land a hit with Ninjutsu, which increases the elemental damage, and we use Ninjutsu all the time. It's a no-brainer. The Snakebite technique will increase the damage over time. We inflict by 16%, which is nice because we have poison and fire that can do that. And the Patience of the Gods increase the rate in which you build up status ailments on enemies by 24%. So we're technically, pretty much what we're going to be doing is trying to keep status ailments up on the enemy at all times, and then reaping the benefits of extra damage from it. our ninja skill, or our samurai skills. Since we're going to be in ninja form most of the time, defense mastery is important because if you swap, you can take less damage. It just makes sense. Now, I also like the yokai realm. The yokai realm will slow you down and drain your ki quicker, so we want to get rid of that with this here. The oppressive strength prevents you from being staggered with strong attacks with the arts. That's a nice skill to have, as well as the favorable wind increases melee damage dealt to enemies that are afflicted with status ailments. Because again, we apply a lot of those. Now for the best clan, there's actually one that stands above all else in the game. That's Todo. This will give you a life bonus equal to your stamina. So it says, see here, it's crazy. It literally will double your stamina. Now, I'm not sure if this is a bug or not, but if it is, this is still a decent one because it's going to give you an increased ninja gauge charge, meaning every time we attack an enemy, we're going to be giving ourselves more ninja tools per hit, which is nice. So, Todo, pretty crazy. Matsunaga here is actually really nice too. Paralysis accumulation on the enemy, 7.5% per attack. And you also get the life drain, whichever you do a grapple attack, you can get yourself some health back. Miyoshi is also nice too, which will give you ki recovery speed and a defense bonus depending on the enemies defeated. Now, equipment and armor sets, typically you're going to want to use whatever you get dropped, but there is one set here that I think is really great. Now, this isn't my strongest set of Tonfas here, but I really like the Searing Bold ones, which adds both fire and lightning damage, and also gives us extra damage on scorched enemies, so this fits very well. We want to basically be applying fire non-stop on the enemy with this. It's actually really fun to use. Now, one thing is this set here, the Master of Illusion, is really nice. Now, I am using some underleveled gear here, just whatever, again, you got. And my secondary weapon here is the final set of the Master of Illusion. So, the Flying Kato, what this does is, so if we have 2 pieces of the gear, we get a 15% increase to our ninja gauge. So that means we're getting our tools back a lot quicker. If we have 3 pieces, we get Shadow Arts damage, so the abilities in our ninja tools, 10% extra damage. At 4 pieces, our Spirit Charge from backstabs increases by 8%. And then at 5 pieces, we then get a 10% increase to our elemental damage. Pretty insane. And then at 6 points, we get life drain whenever we use our ninjutsus, B+. So actually pretty insane. And it just boosts up our damage from range, drains our life. It also gives us even further elemental damage. Everything about it's nice. Now, I do also want to make a recommendation for gear, depending on the boss you're fighting. Some bosses only do lightning damage, like Ibaraki Doji. She becomes very easy if you use something like a Lightning Omamari here, which is going to give you a 51% lightning resistance for one of these. And then you can also use another one. And if you got the ones that you get at the start of the game, there's actually a couple that are really, really nice with like the Scampus Furball, which has 30 lightning and wind. There's also the Chijiki here, which has 30 wind and water. So yeah, you can use these here depending on the boss you're going against if you got these. Otherwise, the like Fire Omamaris and things like that with a 51% resistance are insane. And this is what we need the points in agility or intelligence for, because some of these items, I would just recommend boosting up your points to be able to equip these and just going with that. I had 10 points, but it's fine. Now with combat, I really like with the Tonfas to use the charge heavy attack because it's just so good with the ability to move around like that. And also the Mountain Breaker Lightning is extremely powerful too. So I guess I should mention the Mountain Breaker Lightning ability here you actually get on the second map, the Heian map, and you're actually going to come right over to here. The Chijiko there is where you're going to get that. It's really good. Basically, you're going to press forward and the heavy attack, and you come down with a lightning attack like that, which is great for applying the status if you need it. And it's great too because you can engage with this ability and it does respectable amounts of damage. Then you can follow with the charge heavy attack there, which gives you that extra movement and mobility, and you get knocked to the sky like that. So yeah, I like a lot about what I like a lot about this is the movement that you get from the Tonfas here. So you can actually go through with some pretty crazy charge attacks, and whenever you charge them up, oh, we broke his key there. I didn't even realize that. You got that extra movement, so you're avoiding attacks whenever you do that attack there, and you can also hit lightning. So I should clarify that it's the hold Y Storm of Strikes and not the Focus Strikes. And then putting it all together, we want to apply the Talisman there to slow enemies down because it just does so much good for us. We can then use the Infernal Calamity here to put some fire damage below them. Yeah, we beat that enemy extremely quickly. That was the source of the yokai. Yeah, this is so good because this Infernal Calamity just does a lot of damage over time at whoever stands there. And if they stay there, you can just start picking away with the Fire Shurikens and the Uncanny Bolts. And then pull out your Soul Guardian, Soul Summons, and just tear the enemy apart. So that is what I believe to be the best build in Nioh 3 from the start of the game all the way through to the end if you want to beat this and have a good time, easy time while doing it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you have any questions, also leave them below. Hit the subscribe button if this video is useful, and I hope you guys all have an amazing day.